They resent and are jealous of all of the attention and the shoe deal that she got.
Over Times Square, take a look. This Nike billboard honors the all-time NCAA Division I scoring leader. It features the caption, "This was never a long."
Caitlin Clark uttered the scathing remarks that instantly sent shockwaves across the league while speaking live on national television. When talking about her role following her injury recovery, Clark accepted Stephanie White's coaching comments, including the need to improve as a screener and play off-ball more. However, she then forcefully reaffirmed her unwavering belief with an almost aggressive edge. "I do best when I have the ball in my hands." It was more than just a factual assertion. Her own head coach's coaching philosophy was clearly and unequivocally challenged. There was an immediate, tangible tension that threatened to destroy their entire relationship before it really started, since the message was clear and a direct counterpoint that was broadcast for everyone to hear. The deafening hush that ensued after her statement revealed a profound philosophical gap that was visible to everyone. Stephanie White's initial hire was greeted with much enthusiasm, particularly by Clark, who was apparently ecstatic. When White came, she embraced her star player and said all the appropriate things about coaching the Fever. However, the honeymoon was exceedingly brief. A clear philosophical divide appeared rather early in the season, a basic difference on how the group, and Clark in particular, ought to function. There was an unresolved conflict simmering beneath the surface, rather than an open conflict. Fans soon noticed a fissure in the foundation. There was no denying the early appreciation, but the fractures appeared almost quickly, pointing at more serious problems to come.
Caitlin Clark continues to set the bar when it comes to her impact on female athletics. She's got one of the hottest selling jerseys in sports, y'all. According to Fanatics, led by the one and only Michael Rubin, Clark's Indiana Fever jersey is apparently sold out in all sizes. It was rumored that she actually outsold Dallas Cowboy jerseys, although that hasn't been entirely confirmed, of course, because that would be a feat. But in addition to the jersey sales, Clark now has an 8-year, $28 million deal with Nike that will include her own signature shoe. The deal is the richest sponsorship contract for a women's basketball player. She deserves.
When Clark, who was recuperating from an injury, was asked about her role alongside partner Erica Wheeler, it was the first notable public display of this division. She gave lip respect to White's advice to become a better screener and play off the ball. However, the true Caitlin Clark eventually surfaced. She reiterated that she performed at her best when she was in possession of the ball, leading the attack and setting the pace. It wasn't just a preference. It was a clear statement of who she was as a player, apparently at odds with the team approach White was trying to put into practice. It seemed more like a silent rejection on a highly visible platform than an adaptation. An even earlier, possibly more subdued altercation prior to a crucial Liberty game was reflected in this public exchange. White had emphasized the significance of Clark playing off the ball once more, presenting it as a means of providing her with a respite and enhancing the team's general flow. Despite being kind, Clark's remark had a similar undercurrent of opposition. She acknowledged the possible advantages, a rapid recipe, and team support, but she soon returned to her fundamental convictions. When she is leading the offensive, she is at her most effective and productive. It was evident that this was more than a tactical argument when she had the ball firmly under her grasp. It was an impending power struggle between basic basketball ideas.
Caitlin, if and when Caitlin gets her own shoe, can we expect you to wear it?
For sure, anything for C-Squared. She better give me all the colors I want, though.
Has she given you any hints as to what it might be like? Anything?
No, not at all. But I'm sure that when it comes out, she's gonna make sure that we kind of get an experience of it. That's just the kind of person she is. So I can expect, once she establishes what she wants to do and how it goes, we'll be the first people to see it. I hope.
Thank you.
These subtle conversations were picked up by fans and the media, who then turned them into a full-fledged conflict story. Headlines implying Stephanie White was purposefully attempting to ruin Caitlin Clark's game or restrict her special potential swiftly sensationalized the philosophical split. The public's impression quickly changed from one of a unified group to one of internal conflict. The strain on coaches and players increased as every statement and subtle gesture was scrutinized. The absence of a definitive public resolution only served to fan the flames, transforming small disputes into what were believed to be significant power struggles that took place in the harsh glare. Stephanie White finally got a chance to speak up about the circulating rumors when she appeared on Sue Bird's Bird's Eye View podcast. White refused to back down. This was her response to the perceived insults to her tactics. It was not a yelling fight, but rather a forceful and unyielding statement of her coaching philosophy. She emphasized how crucial it was to develop a close, trustworthy connection with Clark, not just as a celebrity, but also as a player who needed challenge and development. In the face of public scrutiny, White's statements were a clear strategic response that laid down her unyielding coaching tenets and asserted her authority and vision.
You women out there, y'all petty, man. Hey, LeBron, you're 100% right on these girls hating on Caitlin Clark. Y'all petty, girls. I expect men to be petty because we're the most insecure group in the world.
Oh, you are.
Y'all should be thanking that girl for getting y'all ass private charters, all the money and visibility she bringing to the WNBA. Don't be petty like dudes. Listen, what she's accomplished, give her flowers. Stop being petty, all you women out there. She got y'all ass charters. She bringing all y'all this money to the table.
White made a strong remark on the show that at first appeared to go against the developing controversy. She is undoubtedly the focal point of everything we do. This was a recognition of Clark's indisputable significance as a corporate leader and on the court. But her solid underlying coaching concept came just after this seemingly accommodating statement. I really think that your finest players need to be challenged and coached. This was not a retreat. It was an assertion. According to White, Clark's position as the focal point did not shield her from intense instruction. It actually required it to establish a distinct boundary.
I need to call you the female version of Steph Curry, or do I need to call Steph Curry the male version of Caitlin Clark? I mean, which one is it? Which one is it?
I think I'll just be the female version of Steph Curry.
I mean, you hear people talking about you and throwing out those comparisons. Speak about how that makes you feel, about how you've just taken the world by storm because of your shooting prowess.
Regarding her coaching method, White didn't hold back. She characterized herself as a very open and honest coach, suggesting a directness that can cause resentment but was necessary for building trust. This was not a recommendation. For her players, particularly her star, it was an unavoidable expectation. Her message was unambiguous. There wouldn't be any secret motives or guessing games. It was expected of players to ask inquiries if they had any. Her unrelenting dedication to brutal honesty, a fundamental component of her leadership style, was her decisive retaliation against any perceived challenges to her authority, necessitating an equally direct response from her team. The most striking statement made by White was probably, "I'm also the same kind of psycho that she is in terms of, competitiveness." This was not a lighthearted comment. It was an outright challenge and a proclamation of parity in the unrelenting quest for triumph. White was effectively communicating to the world and Clark that she had the same fierce will to succeed, despite the fact that their competitive impulses showed up differently. This statement put them on an even playing field of fierce ambition, implying that any conflict was the result of two exceptional psychopaths competing for the greatest route to achievement rather than something personal. White and Clark's on-court connection never really had the opportunity to flourish, despite the public debates and philosophical statements. Clark suffered from injuries. An ankle first, followed by a season-ending groin problem, avoiding them from being imprisoned entirely on the court. The intriguing prospect of seeing the fusion of their distinct beliefs has not received much attention. The stress surrounding their public remarks was only heightened by the void and ongoing what-if that resulted from this. The intellectual jabs and insults felt more important and powerful due to the court's inability to reach a decision, which fueled rumors about their compatibility. Clark herself had a track record of quietly resisting the limitations of coaching. She famously compared her deep shots at Iowa to Steph Curry's early in her career, saying that you don't tell Steph Curry not to shoot those. This way of thinking demonstrates a strong conviction in her own brilliance and an innate opposition to being restricted or categorized. Her response to White's instructions was predicted by this earlier insult to conventional coaching techniques, establishing a pattern of a player who values her gut above all else. It demonstrated that she was no stranger to defying conventional basketball wisdom. Clark's favored manner was directly challenged by White's teaching philosophy, which focused on particular areas for her development. The coach specifically aimed to enhance off-ball play, improve as a catch-and-OT danger, and learn when to give up possession of teammates. These were not small adjustments. These were significant changes that necessitated Clark's transition away from her ball-dominant character. Her insistence on these areas was her strong snap, an unwavering demand for development that subtly retaliated against Clark's previous criticisms regarding her awareness of her own best performance. It was an obvious counter-strategic action. When the Fever started to win without Caitlin Clark, it was an incredible turning moment and another subtle snap from White. Despite Clark's injury or absence, the club began to play like a machine, winning several straight games. During this time, White's coaching abilities and the depth of the team she was assembling were clearly demonstrated. It was a potent, indisputable proof that her system could function even in the absence of its brightest star. Although Clark praised this accomplishment, it also provided as a subtle but powerful affirmation of White's strategy, demonstrating the potential for group power. Clark's famed competitive drive, which is frequently likened to the DNA of Michael Jordan and Kobe Bryant, adds another dimension to her unwavering personality. Because of her fierce, occasionally stubborn competitive spirit, Iowa coaches Lisa Bluer and Jan Jansen have even discussed the need to connect with her. White herself connected with this innate psychocompetence, which explains why Clark can insult or rebel against coaching instructions that she believes will reduce her chances of success. It's not intentional. It's a strong sense of self-belief based on the same legends are fueled by winning obsession. White's seemingly harmless remarks were magnified into perceived insults directed at Clark, greatly straining their relationship. Some fans misinterpreted White's comments regarding Kelsey Mitchell's significance during his resignation attempts to suggest that Clark wasn't the best. This incident emphasizes the highly watched atmosphere in which White's words could be perceived as subtly disparaging Clark or diminishing her position. Their relationship became even more complicated as White had to negotiate a minefield of public opinion where every utterance held disproportionate weight. Despite their seeming insults and philosophical outbursts, a vital component of trust emerged between them. Clark, despite being hurt, she wrote a heartfelt tribute about Stephanie White during the Fever's outstanding run. Given the previous conflicts, this public gesture seemed out of character, but it showed that a true human trust had developed beneath the surface of tactical disagreements. This relationship was crucial to White, who said that before she could successfully confront Clark, she had to gain her trust. Despite the public drama, it suggested a deeper understanding. White was an outstanding coach throughout the season, particularly in handling Clark's injury and the team's ensuing success. To inspire a group in such situations and lead them to a solid conclusion was evidence of her unwavering leadership and smart thinking. This outstanding coaching position was a potent affirmation of her strategies, demonstrating her capacity to foster a winning culture even in situations where her star player was benched or questioned her techniques. It was a subtle but powerful retaliation against those who questioned her ability to lead. Coaching a generational talent was only one aspect of White's problem. Another was integrating her into a system that would allow her to flourish and inspire others. Clark's ball-in-her-hands mentality was directly countered by White's insistence on Clark learning to trust her teammates more and occasionally cede control. It wasn't offensive to Clark's ability, but a calculated move to promote a more comprehensive team effort. Clark had to realize that a more balanced approach might maintain and even enhance her vitality, making her an even more potent weapon inside a cohesive team. Even after suffering a devastating defeat to the Aces, there is still hope for a dynasty, but it will depend on how White and Clark resolve their divergent ideologies in the end. The combination of Clark's unquestionable individual brilliance and the team's success without him creates an intriguing dynamic. They are both aware of Caitlin Clark's extraordinary skill. It is still unclear if Clark's intense self-belief and White's uncompromising coaching standards can coexist. It's a high-stakes chess battle in which the course of this eagerly awaited future will be determined by every move, word, snap, and insult. The scene is set for an epic, unresolved drama between two intensely competitive psychos who, in spite of their public outbursts and subtle insults, have an unquestionable mutual respect for one goal: winning, like each other, trust each other, and are outstanding at what they do. However, the most intriguing unanswered question in the sport is whether White's unwavering attitude of pushing her top players and Clark's innate demand for the ball can actually come together to create a harmonious championship-winning symphony. There is actual tension. The stakes are really high,